43, 1, 2, 43.
Test, 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 1, 2.
Again? Or you want me to go down?
First, you get to pick of the stuff.
Blanket huge.
Test, test, 1, 2. This is a test.
Recommendation.
We're going to park, but we got some other folks coming. Just
They look like they're good.
Happy.
that treehouse.
If I have to walk them out with you.
Uh,
So I just want to make sure you
Oh.
knew they're there, but they're too heavy.
This is.
That's too heavy.
Here now.
He's a good husband, isn't he?
Welcome to the Board of Directors Agenda Meeting for March 9th, 2021. This is our opportunity to review the agenda for our formal board meeting that will be held on March the 16th. We have one modification for tonight's agenda, item M1, which is a resolution for a mutual aid agreement with the Secretary of the Air Force for fire protections and hazardous materials incident responses.
Move to move that to the consent agenda, Mayor.
There's a motion to move to consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion from Vice Mayor Hines, a second from Director Adcock. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. It's now moved to the consent agenda for next week's board meeting.
Mayor, should we note now that there may be another ordinance coming? The planning department has approved of the
Mr.
language.
Attorney, if you'll just give a brief update.
Okay. On January the 19th, the board approved a planned commercial development for a restaurant in Southwest Little Rock. It would also serve alcoholic beverages, would need to get a permit. Mr. Collins did all he could to make sure that the ordinance itself said that. The Alcoholic Control Board demanded certain language. We have gotten that and we've put it back in. I'm not passing it out today because I'm still need to hear from the lawyer, but if that happens, then we'd like to add that and y'all would have it on Friday.
So move.
There's a motion from Director Adcock in advance of another modification that will be en route to be placed on the March 16th, as previously stated by the city attorney. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Vice Mayor Hines. Just to reiterate, city attorney previously stated an additional ordinance that will show up on the March 16th agenda and has been agreed upon with the motion from Director Adcock and a second from Vice Mayor Hines. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Are there any questions on the consent agenda items 1 through 6?
Mayor, I'd like to make a comment, please.
If you would, Director Adcock, if you'll press your deal, then we'll come right to. I just want to keep us in order.
Okay.
Angie, if you'll help me, please.
Smiley face. And raise my hand.
There you go. Director Adcock, thank you so much.
Thank you. The two houses that are on here that we are now doing the title on, this finishes the 5 houses that we purchased, the City of Little Rock purchased or was donated in the Love neighborhood. And so now we put 72,000 in that first house. We got 60,000 for, and now the 5 houses are being turned over to being rehabbed in the Love neighborhood. And this finishes all that we had started with the revitalization of that area.
Thank you so much, Director Adcock, for that institutional knowledge that you're sharing with us in the background. Any more questions from items 1 through 6? Any more questions from items 1 through 6? We'll now transition. Items 7 through 16. Director Wyrick. Director Wyrick, if you'll pull your microphone just a little closer. Yes, ma'am. On item number 10, Eastwood, I believe, is, well, we'll have Director Honeywell. Excuse me? We'll get you that information. I think I know where it is. I think that's where it is. Director Honeywell's he's gonna share the map with you, Director Warwick. All right, Vice Mayor Hines.
Yes, I'd like a summary on 16 on the professional services contract for police staffing.
Yes, Chief Humphrey and Major Hilton.
Good afternoon, everyone, Mayor and directors. This is the staffing study that we've been talking about for a while. We put out we've gone through the process and we've selected someone that we believe that will give us a accurate and a working product that we can use to determine if we're deploying or how we're deploying our resources, staffing wise. There's other things that go into this, but we're excited about the opportunity to really see where we need to go with the department as far as staffing and our operational plan.
Chief, is it working now? Chief, so will this also take a look at our patrol subdivisions as far as how those are staffed and whether or not we need to
Yes, sir.
increase or we can realign those as well?
Yes, sir. All that. Yes, sir.
Right. And then what's the timeline for them to start and finish? And so we get a report back to us?
Good evening, Mayor, Board. Director Hines, to answer your question, once the contract is signed, we will start pushing data to the evaluation group assessment team very quickly. They're supposed to come back with a final report within 90 to 120 days, so it'll happen very quickly.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Chief and Major, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Director Adcock.
Yes, Captain Hilton, in this morning's paper, there was an article about this, but wasn't for sure about the funding to pay for it. Can you please tell us how much city funds and what the other funding sources are, please?
I don't know in regards to the funding sources. I think that's a little bit out of my area, but I know the amount of cost for it was $87,500. It was a little higher. We were able to negotiate that down with the company. So we felt like that was some success there. And due to COVID, we were able to do some stuff online virtually with pushing some information. So that cut out a lot of travel expenses. So we were able to save the city quite a substantial amount of money on that end. But as far as funding sources, I don't know exactly what has been allocated and set aside for that particular amount of funds. And then maybe the chief can probably add more to that.
Thank you for the question, Director. It will be funded from our asset forfeiture fund. Federal seizure funds will be used to pay for this study.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And so for everyone that may be watching and that's in the room, the federal asset seizure funds are federal dollars. And Chief, please correct me if I'm wrong. When there's times where we are fighting crime, reducing crime, and there are seizures, if it happens to be a federal offense, it goes into this fund. So these are dollars that are in possession of the federal government that we are getting access to use for specific purposes. So in line, while it's a part of our budgeting mechanism, they are not city tax dollars.
Thank you.
That good enough?
That is exactly correct, sir.
I just want to make sure it's clear that it's not city tax dollars, the federal asset seizure funds.
That is correct.
Thank you, Director Adcock. That was a great question.
The citizens always like to know what the money is coming from.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
We're a great steward because of you. Director Phillips?
Thank you, and my apologies to the board for running a few minutes late, but did have a question about number 16. Chief, in our board communication, there was mentioned that the service CIS will also include staffing needs. And I know in the past year, you talked about the need for increasing maybe a social worker, adding that to the force. Would that be a part of this study? Whether we need to add 1, 2, or however many?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Director. One of the things we will tell us is that, are there areas of the department that we might be able to civilianize? Would also tell us some of the services that they believe that could help us. This is bottom line to tell us what's in the best needs of our community and our department. Are we providing the best services? Are we utilizing the best resources? So this is something that's long overdue. I want to thank the mayor for he and I on that same page when it comes to these type of studies. So it's going to give us an overall look at our organization to see if we're deploying the right resources, what resources we need, not just for today, but tomorrow and for years to come.
Thank you so much, Chief. And also, I just want to share again, kudos to the city board that passed our budget this past December, which did include funding for a social worker. We know that's a start as we go down this journey. Hopefully, the staffing study will show that there's a justification, and whether through attrition or transition, that there's some other opportunities to kind of create a team of social workers. Mr. Moore, I know you follow a lot of the national news. We're starting to see that Little Rock is one of the trendsetters in going that route. You mind sharing any comments? I know you've been following a lot of that too. And folks are kind of coming around as what we did last December.
It's correct, Mayor and members of the board. This organization is actually part of the International City Managers Association, so they really an offshoot of the organization. So they really do look at best practices. They bring in teams of experts that look at all aspects of policing. And as the mayor and the chief and all of us talk about the 21st century policing, the whole social work aspect is a critical part of that. And I truly feel we got off to a good start in 2021, and hopefully we'll continue to build on that team.
Thank you. And hopefully, Chief, will have that social worker by the end of Q2, if possible.
We're working on that, sir.
It was just a gentle nudge.
Yes, sir. We're working on it.
All right. And Chief, if you'll stay just for a little while as well, we'll move separate items. Your major excuse. We'll move now to separate items. Are there any questions for item 17? Thank you, Major Helton. Appreciate you. We'll now move to separate items 17 to 18 in question. Director Wyrick. Director Honeywell, if you'll give us a brief presentation.
Mayor, board members, Vice Mayor Roderick. This is part of the city's participation in the National Flood Insurance Program. This is a requirement that FEMA has requested that all cities that want to remain as a Class 8 rated community put in place. So right now we're currently 8. If you get a higher classification, that means your flood insurance rates go up. So this is part of keeping the city's flood insurance rates down. What they're asking us to do, freeboard is you have a base flood elevation. So that's what they predict the water level will get to in a flood event. Freeboard is a 1 foot freeboard is a 1 foot clear zone higher than what that flood elevation is. So it's 1 foot of space that you put your stuff above what they're predicting the flood elevation to be, to give you some what's called freeboard between predicted height and what you build your house at. Currently, we require homes to be built at, or businesses to be at, that 1 foot above the base flood elevation. What this is doing is adding the criteria that any of the mechanical systems that you have in these identified flood zones that have a base flood elevation, that you raise all of that equipment to that 1 foot freeboard if you have a natural disaster, if you have a flooding event that causes damage to that, if you're building new, or if you're doing substantial improvements due to a natural disaster. Also, the city has in our flood insurance program, if you're doing renovation projects to your building that are valued at greater than 50% of the existing value of the property, you have to implement these as well. But let's say your air conditioning unit that's out there dies, doesn't work anymore. That doesn't mean because of this you have to raise it. If it gets flooded from a flood event, you have to. But if just the unit stops working because it's old, you don't have to meet these standards. It's only in the flood event or a substantial renovation or remodel. Only if those renovations equal greater than 50% of the current value of the property. If it does equal that 50%, then yes, you have to meet these requirements. And that exists as part of our code now before this. All this is addressing is the mechanical stuff that you might have on the, you already have to do that anyway. Commercially, I think you can flood proof and not raise the building, but you have to flood proof it to that 1 foot freeboard. You don't necessarily have to raise the building on the commercial side. Residentially, you'd have to address that differently. Yeah, that's probably something, if we got down to the tax of it all, we would say it's what's the appraised value of the property, yes. We would probably request a property owner get a appraisal done of the property and provide that as part of their process to get the permits to do their renovation. If we question whether or not they're hitting that 50% threshold. We're adding them to the list of things that have to be taken care of with that 1 foot freeboard. On the commercial side of things, yes. Correct. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Director Wyrick. Seeing no other questions for items 17 and 18? No questions for item 17 and 18? We'll now move forward to our legislative update from Director Cox.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board. The legislature continues to meet after being in recess for about a week due to the winter weather we had, but they are definitely still meeting at the Capitol. So I'm here to update you on things that are happening down the street. So first, in regards to our legislative agenda, our bill to streamline the process for responding to FOIA requests for employee salaries has been filed since I was before you last, and that is House Bill 1626 by Representative Brooks. And the Municipal League presented the bill to the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act Task Force, and they were supportive of our efforts. Also, we are seeking additional information as it pertains to local sales and use tax information, and Senator Sample has filed Senate Bill 293, which allows for disclosure of information concerning credits, refunds, and rebates. And the business community had some concerns about the bill as it was written, but the stakeholders have gotten together, and I expect a new bill to be filed in the coming days to address that. On other bills of interest, House Bill 1020 and Senate Bill 3 are the companion hate crimes bills by Senator Hendren and Representative Love, and both of those remain in their respective committees. And there are several special election bills that have been filed this session, one of which I would have limited special elections to the general election and the primary election date. And then yesterday, Senator Jason Rapert filed Senate Bill 496, and it allows for 4 dates for special elections. And that bill also, it has some energy around it. And it includes language about extraordinary emergency circumstances, allowing for a special election to be held on a separate date outside of the 4 that are in the bill. House Bill 1280 allows for municipal governing bodies to enter into executive session for considering economic development projects. It was amended today, so I can't speak to those specific changes, but that's one I wanted you to be aware of. House Bill 1416 is the home-based entrepreneurship bill by Representative Underwood, and it allows city boards to license or regulate home-based businesses, and this was amended yesterday as well to satisfy concerns of planners and cities. So we'll be digging into that one as it's amended. And there are several bills pertaining to guns, including House Bill 1556 and House Bill 1598 that would impact our city facilities. And both of those bills remain in committee. The Stand Your Ground bill, Senate Bill 24, has been enacted. House Bill 1563 is the minimum habitability standards bill called the Safe Housing Bill this session by Representative Gazaway, and that is expected to be presented to the committee tomorrow. And then on the Senate bill side, I wanted to share Senate Bill 32 by Senator English authorizes the holder of a retail liquor permit to deliver alcoholic beverages directly to a resident of legal age to consume in a wet county. And so that continues the pandemic practice that has been happening. And that's Act 158. Also, Senate Bill 452 by Senator Mark Johnson puts redistricting of city wards at the county election commissioner level instead of at the city board level. And that bill was, Senator Johnson ran that bill in committee today, and he pulled it to amend it. So we'll see what those amendments look like. But this is one we'll continue to be watching. And so those are the bills I wanted to bring to your attention, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Vice Mayor Hines, then after Vice Mayor Hines, Director Hendricks.
Thank you. I think you answered the question. You covered that last bill. I had that happen in committee. So does that look like it's got legs? I mean, it seems to be a Little Rock only bill. I haven't heard any.
It impacts municipalities statewide that have wards. Senate Bill 452 by Senator Johnson.
So it says wards. Does how does it impact? Is it every municipal government or just mayor, council, or city manager? How's it read?
Goes through multiple forms of government. And the municipal league, if a city has wards or districts, then the city would be impacted. And that's not all 500 cities in Arkansas, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 or so. The municipal league hasn't given an exact number.
Thank you.
Mayor. Director Hendricks is up next, and then after Director Hendricks, we'll go to Director Webb, and then I think Director Wright will be coming up next. Director Hendricks.
Thank you. I have two questions. And I want, on the news, I did see Senator Chesterfield asking a question, what bill have you shared just then that would be a part of what she was trying to talk about? It was on television, on the news. Do you know that, what that was?
What, it could have been the collective bargaining bill, maybe, or Senate Bill 341. But I'm not sure. I'll have to look and see.
Well, tell me something about the first one you mentioned.
The Senate Bill 341 by Senator Ballinger prohibits collective bargaining, but it has been amended to exempt police and fire. And I also understand that it impacts education primarily.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, what's the last day that a bill can be submitted during the session?
That date does not, it's not in my memory. I will have to look that up. I'll let you know though. I'm sorry.
Okay, be sure and send me an email because I've got something.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
want to get there.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Director Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Emily, I think you said there were two gun bills that would have an impact on city facilities. Could you
Yes, ma'am.
give a couple of sentences about those?
Sure. House Bill 1556 is allows guns in lots of places, including schools, I believe, if it has not been amended, for folks over 21. So that would include our city facilities. And then also the other one is House Bill 1598. And so firearms would be allowed in municipal buildings in that bill.
So somebody could bring a gun to City Hall?
That's my understanding.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Director Wright.
Follow up on that, Emily, or to, I guess, to Mr. City Attorney. Even though that bill, if it passes, would allow that guns in our municipal facilities and in our city-owned facilities, we don't have to allow them, right?
I haven't read the language of the bill. Legislature may impact that, but property owned by the city includes all the rights to property, and one of those rights is the ability to exclude. So if the state was to do that, it would be a taking, and they would have to compensate the city.
Okay, so I'm assuming that we're not gonna allow that because. But my other question was following up with you on the marijuana tax. Remember you had sent an inquiry to someone asking if we could have receive a allocation out of that?
The work I did indicated we cannot.
We cannot. Is there a reason why? Does something need to be amended?
I don't think it's in the constitutional provision, so it may be something that can be amended, but I didn't look at that question.
Mayor, based upon Mr. Carpenter's review and can we, if at all possible, can we make that a part of a request that we pursue?
Yes, let's pending his review.
Okay, thank you. I like that, Mr. Carpenter, Mr. Moore, Emily.
All right. Thank you so much, Director Cox. Before we move forward, I do want to, Chief Humphrey, if you would come to the podium. I think we all know as we approach daylight savings time and spring forward, and we're experiencing these very pleasant weather. And in addition to the governor's directives being transitioned to guidelines, we're going to see more of an uptick of our residents out and about enjoying, our great parks and our city from that standpoint. But we do know last summer we addressed caravanning and street racing, and it upticked again. We addressed it again. We have a number of different officers that are out, definitely utilizing as much overtime as possible. We know we had a couple incidents this weekend that were quickly addressed. Chief Humphrey, if you would make a brief statement or address some of that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and the directors. On a weekly basis and sometimes on a daily basis, we're looking at intelligence to determine what intel we're getting regarding caravanning or any type of events that would happen at any of the parks or other areas where there might be mass gatherings. We adjust our staffing as needed. One of the things we try not to do is wait until the last minute. This weekend I was notified about an area in the city, and we were able to get officers over there very quickly. And so we're adding staffing on a weekly basis. I've given direction that there's a minimum number of officers that I expect to be working to address these areas. So where we can be dispatched, we can get to those areas quicker, or if not, we can place officers to have a presence in that area. As you all know, the thing about these incidents, they're fluid incidents. So we can be at one area, have officers at one area, and next thing you know, they find other areas. So it's all about the intel and the historical data that we received to where we need to put our, and we're in a position that we can adjust as needed. But, my focus is to have as many resources out so that we can respond, or if not respond, be present in the areas that we know that have historical issues.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Chief Humphrey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Seeing no other questions, looking at our board, seeing no other questions.
Mayor.
Did you, Director Wright, are you gonna,
Direct-
1 second, Director Wright. Are you gonna, need you to press the, I'm trying to keep us all on the court. And actually, I think you have, is this yours? Well, we have, so you and Director Peck, thank you so much. I got my notes here. My plan was to call on Director Webb, and I gave her a heads up. I think she's teed up, and so this is in line with every agenda meeting that board members that are assigned or as liaisons to boards and commissions will give an update on their boards and commissions. We started out the gate with Director Adcock, and she did a great job and as well as Director Phillips. Now, Director Adcock, I'm trying to give you the credit because I don't know if Director Phillips attended or not. I know you talked to her.
Director Adcock and I, we're a team, Mayor. We work together as a team. Ain't that right, Director Adcock?
He attended, yes, sir.
He did attend. Was he there in person or virtually?
Virtual,
I figured.
from a very nice office.
Director Webb, we'll come to you first. And you just decide which one. I know you're on a number, so I don't expect you to share all. So whichever one you decide you want to share.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And because Arts and Culture met yesterday, we've got some things that are sort of timely. I'll go ahead and talk about that one. I've been the liaison to that commission since I've been on the board. The commission was sort of inactive when I joined it, but I felt it was important for our ward and for our city. And before the pandemic, we were very active in doing things citywide to showcase both our large arts institutions as well as focusing on our smaller groups and our individual artists through our Spotlight program and through our Open Studio program, where artists across the city were able to sell their products to citizens. One day of the year, we had open studios, and we had a map, and people from across the city visited as many studios as they could. So when the pandemic started, we had to, of course, postpone plans for open studios, postpone some of our programs. And so one of the things that we've planned for this year is to have a series of online programs for smaller, that are geared towards smaller organizations, maybe the individual art people who don't have a PR department or who may not be skilled in some of the aspects that it takes to run a business. So we were planning a program for the week of the snow, and that was going to be a marketing seminar on how to write a marketing plan. But we postponed that because of the snow. We're going to reschedule that sometime probably in the next few weeks. And then our next quarterly program that will be available to anybody in the city will be on how to use social media to promote either your group or your artwork. The next one will be on web design. And the final one of the year will be how to do a media pitch. So those are some of the online activities that we're creating as alternatives to Open Studio and to Spire. Yesterday, had a good discussion about LRTV. We were approached by city officials to come up with programming for LRTV down the road, I think starting in July. But we wanted to start that discussion now to see what kind of program would be appropriate for the commission. So I expect that that's something that we'll cover at all of our meetings. We have a good active commission with both representatives from institutions as well as individual artists, people from the community, and smaller organizations. And we miss Director Peck. Understand that she is very busy on other commissions. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much, Director Webb. Really do appreciate all that you're doing with being a liaison. Really do appreciate that impact. Director Wright and then Director Peck, or
Director Peck can present it. It's the same one.
okay,
We were both.
y'all a team.
We're a team.
We are a team. Go Parks, go. So we actually will be meeting tomorrow. The major things we discussed are in your minutes that I passed out. The big thing on the agenda is the annual golf tournament, which did not occur, obviously, because of the pandemic. I expect the date will be set tomorrow. It will be sometime in May at Rebsamen. Commissioner Grayson Hinojosa is in charge this year. We're already getting teams together and sponsors. And if you don't know, each of these golf tournaments, the funds raised go to some sort of summer program for kids. And we've dedicated this current golf tournament funds to go to Wakefield Park. So Wakefield's getting a lot of love. That's the major thing happening in parks right now. I know crews are really busy getting things ready to, as Mayor pointed out, people are going to start flooding into the parks. Sort of parks related. Members of the Walton Family Foundation were here last week to take a look at the progress being made at River Mountain and Walton Heights. We've got some incredible world-class mountain bike trails that are about, I guess, a quarter of a way complete. I think the completion date is in June. I got roped into going. I thought I was just going to observe, look. John did say, put on your hiking boots. And then 2 hours later, I emerged, barely. But it was great. They were so enthusiastic, and this is going to be so exciting for the city, whether you are a mountain biker or not. And then last thing, not parks related, but I did want to share this because Director Webb has been involved, Director Adcock has been involved, but it's something that has benefited so many in the city. It's a program that I helped facilitate called Plating Change. And currently we have provided over 11,000 hot meals to food insecure people, thanks to some very generous people. And this was a collective work between Trios, Doe's Eat Place, and Lindsay's Barbecue and Hospitality House in North Little Rock. And we have served people from Jericho Way, Philander Smith, Buffington Towers, Southwest Community Center. We're getting ready to work with Watershed, Mercy Hospital, From His Throne, and the list goes on and on and on. serving Chico Elementary in a couple of weeks, and have most recently connected with Roselle Aaron, who has been doing yeoman's work in his neighborhood, taking care of families that are food insecure. And we've been supplying him with a couple hundred meals weekly for a few weeks. So great feel-good thing. I was able to raise a little more money that will allow us to do about 4,000 more meals. And so this city cares. We're a compassionate city, and we take care of people that have less. So I'm super proud of everybody that's been involved in that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your leadership,
Mayor,
Director Peck and Director Wright.
Mayor.
Director Wright, I need you to, you,
You must have removed my hand.
Director Wright, now, it's on there now.
Well, I want to chime in there because I did have several people contact me about adult softball. And I do want them to know that I did raise their concern and that they are interested in seeing adult softball at Interstate Park, and they would like for the city's adult softball league to become a part of the softball circuit, which still exists. I know that, but it's very, and apparently it's pretty vibrant. And they felt that if our adult softball program became a part of the circuit, that there would be a possibility of getting more tournaments in Little Rock. But they also, I also asked that Director Eckert provide a timeline for the repairs that he indicated that he has planned for Interstate Park. And that includes the driveway and the restrooms. And these were concerns that people that have used the park expressed to me, and wanted to make sure that I stated it on air so they could hear that I did raise those concerns, Mayor.
Director Wright, thank you so much. We will follow up with you as soon as possible. Mr. Moore and I will visit, so we'll follow up. Thank you for that. Seeing no other, Director Computers, would you like to give a COVID update?
Sure. Our committee has continued to meet, and the hospitals are doing a great job. We're getting the vaccine out. The people who are eligible for the vaccine have been expanded. The city board now has the availability of getting the vaccine. The nicest thing is we're giving about 1,000 shots a day with UAMS at our center on 12th Street, and Steppy Many said that they love the facility, but they even like more the attitude of the people that work there. They're doing a great job. All the hospitals now have moved their shots either in the hospital or to their clinics. The biggest thing is going to come out when we go to the 1C group, that the hospitals are really going to have to help Colonel Atar, because that will be where you lower the age a little bit, but you have comorbidities that have to be decided. So right now it's pretty easy. If you're on the city board, you can go get a shot, but the next group will be people at a lower age but have to have a comorbidity, and that's going to have to be decided, and the hospitals will help with that. The Johnson & Johnson shots are in the state. Differing from the time when we got the Pfizer and the Moderna shots, we got twice as many vaccines as we thought we were going to get to start with. And what they did is that they emptied every shot they had in storage and shipped them. So we won't get any more of the Johnson & Johnson shots until the end of the month, but we've got 4,000 or 5,000 shots to give out. And they're the single dose shots, as you know. And they are now available along with Moderna and Pfizer. And if we can get through masking and using social distancing for another couple of months, then we're going to, we have a chance of doing real well. One of the things that has come out when you look at the research of this problem is that there's an estimate now nationwide that if you say how many people are symptomatic that you test and you know there's probably 3 or 4 times that number that have had it and they're asymptomatic. So if you take the state of Arkansas, we've got 240,000 people, I think, that have been sick. So if you say that 3 or 4 times that number have it and are asymptomatic, then we probably are up to 1 million people in the state who have some immunity. Now, the immunity won't be long-term in people who had a mild disease, but that may be one of the reasons, along with the warmer weather and along with social distancing and doing the right thing, that we're seeing a decline right now. And if we can, that curve of getting the shots in people's arms in an expeditious manner is and maintaining what we're doing right now gives us the best chance in our state to have a good summer. So that's where we are right now. But and I just want everybody to know that the 6 hospitals in Central Arkansas have done a superb job of working together, meeting together. We have a call every Monday at 4:30 that Stephanie or the mayor or Bruce are on with us. And so everything's going pretty well, and we're coordinated the efforts in Central Arkansas.
Thank you so much, Director Campiris, and do appreciate you leading our Little Rock COVID-19 task force. I think 2 of the key things that you said to get us closer towards a post-COVID-19 era is masking and social distancing, to keep that up as best as we can. So thank you for that. Mr. Moore, did you want to update the board on the East Clinic initiative? I know we talk a lot about our partners at UMS, but I want to make sure we talk about our other partner. It may be better that you shared that news rather than Director Campiris.
We were
that he's not aware of.
We were approached, as the board knows, we share a facility with St. Vincent's East, our East Little Rock Community Center, Nat Hill Community Center, and we are going to offer that facility up for a clinic. They're still working out all of the details, and they'll come out with, once they figure out the number of doses that they'll have, they'll get that out in the public. But that will be coming up in the next few days, and just like it was stated earlier, I think UMS really thinks that Center University Park has been a great asset for them, and I think the East Little Rock Clinic will also be the same type of asset for St. Vincent.
Thank you so much. That being said, this means. You got, I thought you from early. I'm sorry, Director Page.
Sorry, it's me again. Sorry, I'll be so very quick. Dean, I think I know the answer, but just so I can honestly answer restaurant friends asking the question, any idea when restaurant workers might be on the list?
I think they're.
No, but I asked.
Are they not included in the food and ag work?
Nope.
Nope.
But we can open it 100%, but no, we're not. We're not included.
And that question was broached Monday, and we'll broach it again next Monday.
And I'll broach it in another fashion as well.
Okay.
I mean, we're masked up serving unmasked people. If we're going to open up at 100%, I just don't get it.
We'll make some inroads and see what we can get done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All that being said, seeing no other questions. Oh, Director, I want to see that happen. Director Campiris. You can't do it yet. You haven't done it.
I'm at another remedial lesson, but that's okay. At least I admit it. Tom, I sent you and Bruce, we have a new problem, and that is the advent of motorized bicycles. And
why did you look at me when you said that?
Well, you're the one that got it all started. I looked at you for the fun of it to see what you do. And they are now, instead of using the street like the scooters are, they're using the sidewalks. And I looked them up, and they can go 25 or 30 miles an hour.
You're referring to the bicycles, correct?
Bicycles, yes. I'm not. Scooters is an issue that's gone, so kind of. But I don't know how we regulate that, because if you're you know, teaching your 3 or 5 or 6-year-old to ride their bicycle on a walking trail, and they come by. I think I sent you a note that Chuck Cook sent me about what was happening. It is something that I have no idea how we regulate or what we do, but we do need to.
We'll ask, Tom, if you'll just work with, Ms. Pruitt. She's very well versed in the, electric, motorized vehicle, industry. But again, this is all a new wave of, so when we talk, just so we're all clear, it's a new wave of what we call multimodal. We were on a call with Secretary Pete Buttigieg a couple weeks ago, and he highlighted Little Rock with the River Market Dean. I don't know if I shared that with you, but he highlighted Little Rock, and he talked about literally the comment was from scooter to transit. And so it's now being a part of what we call